How to become a normal eater. If you're constantly thinking about food and obsessing over your next meal and you can't eat one piece of chocolate without finishing the entire box, then you are not a normal eater. And that's okay, because there are solutions. I used to be a pretty unhealthy eater. I would binge a lot and my whole day would be about food. I was literally only motivated to get through the day because of my meals, and I was constantly obsessing over food. But I was able to get over that, and I'm going to tell you how in this video. And this video is going to be divided into two parts. At first, we're going to talk about the physical aspect of becoming a normal eater and then the mental aspect of becoming a normal eater. And we're going to start off with physically. I know that a lot of people will say that you first have to do some type of mental work to become a normal eater and to have more normal eating habits. But I disagree with that, because I feel like even if you do all the mental work in the world, if you're not at some point eating 3 balanced meals a day, then you're never going to get into a healthy mindset. You kind of need to give yourself that push. Obviously, you do need to do both at the same time, and I do think that where the real magic will happen is with the mental part of this video, so stay tuned for that. But I do think that the physical aspect is the first thing to put in place, and it's a thing that is easiest because it's something that you have to do. It's actions that you do and then it happens, and the mental takes more complicated work. So what we're going to put in place, and it's really the approach that I took that works, is a kind of fake it till you make it mentality, meaning you are going to start eating the way you would eat if you were a normal eater. If you ate the way that you always dreamed you would. You have to start to put that in place now. And the catch to this is, of course, I'm not going to tell you stop binging, stop obsessing over food. That's not going to work. We have to take it the other way around. And so the first thing you have to do is you need to eat 3 at least balanced and satisfying meals a day. You need to start with that. You need to start with this, because if you're not fueling your body correctly, then you're not going to have the energy to do any of the rest. You're gonna get the cravings, you're gonna get the desires and obsession with food if you're not eating those 3 meals. And I said balanced because, of course, you need to make sure that you're getting in nutrients, so that you're getting a lot of whole foods, a lot of whole grains, and beans, legumes, veggies, fruit, nuts, all of that, for sure. But these meals also need to be satisfying, and this means that you need to be completely fulfilled after this meal, both physically but also mentally. So you need to be enjoying the meal, and you need to be listening to your cravings and incorporating that into your meals. And also you need to make sure that the meals are filling enough, that there's enough food. This is the key step that people often disregard, because people are always trying to eat less and restrict more, and that ends up with them being obsessed and them binging. So you need to take it the other way around, and you really need to first get your meals down. And you will have a little period of overlapping where you still binge, you still have craving. That's okay, that's fine, that's part of the process. But no matter what happens, you still need to be giving your body these 3 regular meals. 3 meals plus a snack if you feel like you need it. I have an entire video on how to eat healthy for beginners. If you feel like you need help with creating these balanced and satisfying meals, you can check that out here or in the description. The second step, and that goes along with the balanced eating, is that you need to have no off-limit foods. You cannot live a happy, healthy life with a happy, healthy relationship with food if you are preventing yourself from buying foods that you really crave for fear of finishing the whole thing. So you need to let yourself have these foods. You need to buy the chips that you always go crazy over, or the chocolate that you can never stop eating, and they need to become a normal, regular part of your eating schedule. So I'm not saying you should be eating 3 packs of chips every day or 3 boxes of chocolate. No, but I'm saying if you're able to implement a little bit, have small portions of these regularly, I'm saying every day, so that your body knows, okay, this food is accessible to me when I want it. I can have a little bit and then I can have more tomorrow if I want more tomorrow. It's not I need to eat everything or else I won't have anything left. All the foods that you currently restrict are probably the foods that you currently binge on and that you feel like you can't control yourself around them. So you need to take them off the pedestal that they're currently on, and you need to just show your body that these are normal foods that you can have alongside other normal foods, like more healthy type foods. Number 3, you need to start listening to your hunger and fullness cues more. I know I always say this in videos, but in this one specifically, I'm gonna get even deeper. It's more about learning to stop overlooking your hunger cues so that you can, in turn, listen to your fullness cues. Let me explain. So I get so many clients telling me, oh, I can never stop when I'm full. I get full, but then I keep on going. Like, I can't listen to what my body's telling me. I don't know why I do that. And then without fail, I ask them if they listen to their hunger cues, and they don't say no, but their actions tell me no, they don't. They'll tell me, yeah, I get hungry like a little bit in the morning, but then I can't eat until like 2 or 3 hours after that. Or I get really hungry after lunch, but I don't have any food like at the office or anything, so I just stay hungry for a few hours, and then when I come home, I like binge on snacks. See, that is called not listening to your hunger cues. And I know it's not your fault. I know we live in this like very fast-paced world where we can't be listening to our bodies. But if you don't start acknowledging your hunger cues, you're never going to be able to actually listen to your fullness cues. Like, why would your body stop eating when you're full if you're not feeding it when it's hungry? Like, it doesn't make sense. So instead of hyper-focusing on your fullness, try to hyper-focus on your hunger cues, and don't let yourself go more than 30 minutes without eating if you're hungry. And then when you're not hungry, you should be waiting about 4 hours between meals. And if you have a meal time that is going to be longer than 4 hours, then maybe throw in a little snack. Once you start doing that, you're gonna see that it's gonna be much easier to also listen to your fullness cues and then stop eating when you're full. And then another thing that kind of plays into that is to learn to eat more mindfully. So this means that you need to learn to focus on your meal more. Again, I know we have a tendency to focus on all of these distractions and to eat in like 5 minutes, but it's very important in order to be able to tune in to your hunger cues, your fullness cues, and the pleasure you have in eating. You need to eat more mindfully. So you can start doing this by giving yourself a small period of uninterrupted time to eat your meal. I'm not saying you have to spend 2 hours on it, but at least 15 minutes where you are focused, you are appreciating your meal, you are taking bites slowly, you are taking the time to chew and appreciating different flavors, colors, textures of the meal, and figuring out if this meal is really giving you pleasure, what you can do to improve it, or anything like that. Really focusing on that meal, no distractions, and this is really going to help you with the general satisfaction and also knowing like when to eat and when to stop. Okay, now it's time to get into the mental aspect of learning to have a more normal way of eating. So we're going to start off strong with possibly the most important message from this entire video, and that is that you need to stop turning to food to meet all of your fundamental needs. When I look back at my own relationship with food and when it wasn't at its healthiest, a lot of it was because I was letting food be my main way to meet all of my needs. So when I was tired, I would eat. When I was bored, I would eat. When I wanted to take a break, I would eat. When I wanted pleasure, I would eat. When I was lonely, I would eat. Like, literally, food was always the answer. It was easy and it was delicious. So I didn't look any further. So then obviously when you're doing that, it becomes impossible to detach from food and to see food as something that is just there for like fuel and pleasure, because you're seeing it as like all these things. So it's literally impossible to adopt normal eating behaviors. So what I really want you to do right now, this is kind of like a practical exercise you need to do, is you need to assess a lot of like different aspects in your life and maybe like give them a rating. Like, assess your happiness levels and like your fun levels and your stress levels, your relationship levels, your pleasure levels, your stimulation levels, and like intellectual stimulation and like fun, like I talked about. So all of these different aspects of your life, things that are important to you, give them a rating and see if you are satisfied with this or not. And then on the ones where you aren't really satisfied, you need to come up with another list of things that will help satisfy this instead of food. And chances are you'll actually see that you turn to food a lot when you're in these situations. So now is the time to come up with other solutions. Do this when you're in like a well-rested, comfortable, well-fed state, not when you're like hangry, of course. Just do this when you can completely focus on the task and objectively write down things that will help you get to higher levels of like the needs that you aren't meeting. And I can do like an entire video on this if this interests you. It's something that I work on a lot with my clients as well. So if you feel like you need more one-on-one help with this, don't hesitate to look at my consultation info. I have all the information for that in the description. Then you need to work on addressing the underlying issue of what is causing you to turn to food instead of other things. So usually doing like this list situation will help, but you'll probably see like one or two things that really stand out, and then you can work on tackling that. For me, I remember my main thing was that I was using food as a way to take breaks where I wouldn't feel guilty for taking breaks, because I was studying in a field where you literally had to be working all the time, and if you weren't studying, people were like, you're gonna get behind, this is bad. So I thought I wasn't allowed to take normal breaks. I thought, well, if I eat during my breaks, well, I'm allowed, then it's fine. And so I would just take breaks to eat all the time. And it was ridiculous. So it wasn't really hard for me to figure out that my main underlying need was taking breaks, and during these breaks doing things that actually gave me like pleasure and that actually like stimulated me mentally in a different way than my studies were. So I put in place measures to deal with that and to satisfy the actual need I was having. And I gave myself breaks. I allowed myself to have certain breaks throughout the day where I could do whatever I wanted that wasn't studying, wasn't eating, and I could do literally like either play the piano or read or like talk to a friend or even go like watch videos, watch Netflix, watch YouTube if I felt like it. And there was no judgment. I was allowed to do that for a certain period of time, and then I would go back to study. This really helped me so much, and I realized that I wasn't really craving the food as much as I was actually craving an excuse to take a break. So maybe your issue isn't going to be the same as mine, but you really need to make an effort to figure it out. Is it mainly loneliness? Is it mainly boredom? Is it mainly stress? And then find targeted solutions to these problems that don't involve eating. Now, another important point is that you need to find pleasure in eating. So there can be two types of pleasure. You can have the pleasure from knowing that you are fueling your body with food that is helping it thrive, and you're giving it good energy and good nutrients, and you can sense that it's making you feel good, like your skin looks better, you sleep better, you look better, all of that. That is definitely one aspect of it. However, you cannot dismiss the other type of pleasure, which is to actually like physically enjoy the food that you're putting into your mouth. So that means when you're eating like more healthy, balanced meals with like mainly whole foods, you need to make sure to be cooking them in a way that is satisfying to you. Of course, it's not going to be satisfying if you're constantly eating like chicken, like white chicken and broccoli and rice with like zero seasoning, zero sauce, nothing. That's not going to be very pleasurable. So you need to find ways to make your meals pleasurable and find pleasure in these types of foods. But also, like I talked about a little bit earlier, if there are foods that bring you lots of pleasure, even if they don't have any very interesting nutritional properties, it's totally okay. And actually, it's more than okay. You should be incorporating them into your meals regularly to get that pleasure. If you're not getting that pleasure in eating, then this is not gonna work, this is not gonna last, because getting pleasure with food is one of our needs. It's a very fundamental need. So if you're meeting all your needs that I talked about previously with other things, but you're still not finding pleasure in food, then that's not gonna work either. And finally, it's super important that you detach yourself from weight and from diet culture in general as much as you can, because of course today, if you feel like your eating habits aren't normal, that is because diet culture probably influenced you in that direction, and you're probably doing this because you want to lose weight or you want to look a certain way, and you need to fully detach yourself from that in order to be able to see health first and pleasure first and all the things we talked about, and not be hyper focused on your weight. Now, hopefully when you're doing all the work that I just talked about, then it will be easier for you to detach from diet culture. It's something that's going to happen kind of like gradually and naturally. However, I still think that it's important for you to actively dismantle any like diet culture thoughts that you have, and to try to really move away from the weight aspect and seeing weight as like your main and only goal and start shifting towards all these other things that may bring weight loss like in turn, but it should never be the reason why you're doing everything, or else it's just not going to last. That's it for this video. I really hope that it was helpful, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like it and subscribe, and see you on my next one. Bye.